request data from Ryan, and we'll just put request data, and you see this drawer open. And so this is the title, your status. You can change details. It's configurable as well. You can add your templates that you set up earlier, so you can have an engagement letter template that you can use. We're going to allow multiple templates, so you could have different templates for different clients. The personal questionnaire is something that is built off of their previous tax return. So it would only, we know the documents that they had last year, so we're only going to ask for those documents this year. And then a checklist. So I'm going to select those, add it to the request. Here's a preview of the email that I'm going to send out with the organizer request. You can have it sent now or later. I'm going to send it now. And what just happened is your client received an email saying that your firm is ready to start requesting data from you. So they're taken to this portal, and it's specific for them. And we're working on allowing you to brand it to your firm. So they can log in here. If they have an account with Intuit, they can just log in. If they don't, they just have to answer a few simple questions to get set up. They're going to sign in. They're going to see that there's an engagement letter, some questions, and documents that I need to provide. So you can see this is how the documents would look. It's based on, like I said, last year, so they can easily go through one by one and answer these questions. And then for the documents, there's 3 ways that they can give us the data. They could direct connect to the financial institution. They can upload it, and so scan it and then upload it. And if they're on their phone, they would see this phone icon at the bottom highlighted, and they could take a picture. And once all that information is requested, it'll come back, and I want to show you what you can do next. I'm just going to go into this briefly because we're going to go into this more in our January session. So I see the data has been provided. I'm going to come in here and start reviewing the data. And this is an example of a 1099 int that was taken by a phone. And it's going to go to the taxpayer. And then I see it's been import. Before I import, we give you the control to make sure that it's what it needs to be. And we have seen a great accuracy. It's over 98%, but our goal is 100%. I got a couple of 1099 MISC. I know this customer has a couple of Schedule Cs. I'm going to put it there, put it on Magnolia, and just like that, all those documents, everything's in the return. And when you go back into the tax return, this is ProConnect Tax. Anything that's been imported will always remain highlighted green, so you know if it's data that you've requested or not, that you've input directly or that's been imported. So that's essentially it. I just showed you it's our request tool. If you've used ProConnect Tax in the past, that whole process that I showed you was a separate product. We had an accountant product for requesting documents. We've now moved it into the tax product itself. That way, while you're working on a return, if you need to request some more information, you can do it directly from the drawer that pops out. It keeps you within the tax product, and you're not going to have to jump back and forth between multiple products. So any questions?
Thanks, Brady. Appreciate that. Can everybody hear me this time? I had a little technical issues here. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Brady, you went through that last little screen selection really quick. Could you go through that and narrate that pick again, just so, because I noticed that was really fast.
Sure. Sorry, I was looking at the time. Yeah, thanks. All right, so this is an example of Kate Banks that I requested these documents. And so she's provided these documents through the portal. And so now what I can do is see these documents that were provided. We'll indicate where this needs to go. We're making this smarter in the future where we'll match it automatically, but you're going to tell us that it's for the taxpayer. And what just happened here is we scanned it off the form, and we put it into the right-hand side of the screen. And this is kind of a way for you to check it before it goes into the return. So you can look at the left side of the document, and then you can see what we scanned off the form. And that's basically what I just did on that one. You can do on every document. So we'll scan the document, we'll get the information off. So this is an example of a 1099 MISC that this customer provided via actually an upload. And so I'm going to tell it to go to this Schedule C. So it's directing it where it needs to go within the return. And again, what we just did is we read the document, we scanned it off, we put it into the this little area for you to review. You approve it. You go to the next document. Again, this is another 1099 MISC that was provided. We know it goes to this company, this Schedule C. And then what just happened basically is those 3 source documents that were provided by your customer have now been input into the tax return. And when you go into the tax return, you can see all the information.
Okay, thanks, Brady. I think that was helpful because if I can't keep up, I'm sure there's probably some others that probably weren't either.
No,
so what happens if people accidentally submit duplicate forms?
You can remove one, and it would take it off of out of the return as well. So you can pick which one is the correct one, and you can manage which one should go in the tax return.
So if you have it scanned, is it? I mean, okay. So maybe just talk about that scanning process real briefly on, okay, they're uploading those, the email. Do they come? How does this communication happen through the QBO email? Just kind of cover that whole umbrella kind of really quick if you could.
Yeah. So what essentially happens is I send a request, and they get it. Your customer gets an email, and they go into the portal that I showed earlier. So they'll have their own portal for your customer that they would log into, and then they can provide the documents through that portal. So they could do it either by scanning it and uploading it, or taking a mobile capture, or giving you the direct connect to that financial institution. So this is their portal basically, and this is how they provide the documents. And as they're providing this information, you're going to be notified that they provided some documents or some questions, and you'll see the progress. And then you can go into ProConnect Tax Online and see those documents that they provided.
Okay, thanks, Brady. Okay, sales tax, everybody's second favorite tax tool. We've had issues with the sales tax tool in the past, and we are doing a major overhaul. There's going to be some serious tax automation. And so the tagline we have now is you do the sales, we'll do your taxes. And to present this today, we have Lauren Kaminsky. And she's right here in Tucson, so every time I have a sales tax question, I know who to go to. She's a senior customer experience specialist here in Tucson. She actively wants your feedback and the situations you're dealing with because she's passionate about solving the issues. Sales tax is one of those thorny issues, but she loves working and strives to improve your customer experience. So give her feedback. That's what she thrives off. So welcome today, Lauren.
Hey, Wesley. Thank you. So I just want to get right into the demo here. So as Wesley mentioned, we are doing a complete overhaul on sales tax and automating this for you guys so that you can spend more time doing what you love to do, running your business or anything outside of work as well. So the new sales tax experience will start here on the taxes on the left-hand side, and we'll bring you to our new setup flow. So the old setup flow was a little more complicated where you had to create individual tax rates yourself. You had to know all the information that would apply to those tax rates, including the tax agency and the individual rates. So now all we'll ask you to do is confirm your company address. We're going to pull this in from your company address listed in your accountant settings. If you did not have an address here, no worries. We'll give you the option to fill this in. But for now, we'll just say that it looks good and click to next. Since our address was listed in New York, it's going to ask me if I need to create or collect sales taxes for anywhere other than New York as well. For this example, we'll just say no, keep it a little simple. And then it's automatically going to fill in the tax agency for us, so we no longer have to worry about researching to make sure that we have that right when we're inputting that. QuickBooks knows this for us. And then it just asks us 3 basic questions to get us started. So when did your current tax period start? I'm going to say ours started in October. How often do I have to file a tax return? Based on when registering with the state, we would know this. So I'm going to choose monthly for mine. And when did you start collecting sales tax for this agency? I'm just going to call that one October 1st. That's all it needs to know, and it's automatically going to start setting up our sales tax center for us. To say got it, and it's going to bring us to the new setup or to the new tax center. So I'm going to just quickly switch companies so that I can give you a company that has a little more data there. Sorry, wrong one. And that way I'll be able to really walk you through the sales tax center and all it has to offer going forward. So we could see in our tax center now, gives us a nice breakdown. While this is loading, I'll talk through it. Nice breakdown of our taxes that may be overdue up top, anything that's upcoming, and if we had anything currently due, it would show up here as well. Up top, we see our history tab. We can edit our settings, and then we have a link for reports. So what we could do is get an invoice started to kind of show you how that works on transactions, because you're no longer going to need to know which sales tax to apply to a transaction. It's going to automatically do that for you. So when I go into my products and services now, we used to always just have that is taxable checkbox. I'll show you here. We do still have that, but we also have a sales tax category that you can now apply. So if you do not apply a category, it's just going to default to the standard tax rate for your location. However, if you have these sales tax categories listed, it's just going to make the calculation even more accurate on our end for you. So sales tax calculation will be based on your company's location, your customer's location, and then again that tax category as well. So when we create an invoice, we can really see how that works. I'm just going to get an invoice created here. In this case, we'll say that we're going to work with Nancy, who's also located in New York, just like our company was when we signed up. And we're going to just add a product here. So we'll add some jeans. These are $125. Now you'll notice down here in the sales tax section, as soon as I click away from that item, the sales tax is going to automatically calculate for us here. So awesome. Didn't have to think about it. Didn't have to calculate anything manually. It just automatically calculated this $11.09 for us. And now if I'm curious as a customer of how we got to that amount, I can click this blue sales tax here. And it'll give me a nice breakdown of what taxes were collected. So state and city breakdown tells us which tax rates were there, taxable sales amount, and then our total dollar amount for sales tax. Now, it also accounts for any of the tax rules that apply across the country. So there's thousands and thousands of tax laws across different localities in the United States, which can be really cumbersome for our customers to go through. So if we were to add a sweatshirt, we see that the sales tax amount doesn't change. Now the reason for this is because New York actually has a sales tax law that any apparel that is $110 or more is fully taxable, whereas anything less than that amount isn't. So we can see here our full subtotal is $177. So if we click the sales tax, it shows us what was taxed and what wasn't. It really breaks it out nicely. And we are looking to improve this as well. So in the next couple of months, we'll see some changes to this pop-up window here, give us some more dynamic information. So just something to look forward to. I'm going to go ahead and just save this transaction. But you might wonder how it would handle a different location. So if we take the same invoice and just change the customer on there to Charlie, who's in California, we can see that the sales tax amount has changed and the full amount is taxable now, and our total taxes has been updated as well. So since we went ahead and calculated that transaction, I'm going to go ahead and bring us into our tax center again. So now we see here tax amounts. We see that this upcoming has been updated based on the transaction I just added. But if we wanted to view what was due, we can simply click this View Return. It's going to give us a nice breakdown of all the items that we would need to file our tax return outside of QuickBooks. So it gives us our gross sales and taxable sales. Another thing you could look forward to coming down the pipeline is non-taxable sales to be listed here as well, and a full report for that. So that is a big piece of feedback that we've received, and something that we're looking into making a nice change for you guys for that. And the total tax due here as well. So I wanted to record my payment that I had paid to the state. I can do that easily by clicking on the record payment button. And then we'll see that the return gets updated, the summary gets updated to show it's paid. We can click on our payment if we'd like to view that. We can delete it if needed. And then that comes off of our main dashboard here, and it actually gets moved into our history tab. So anything that you've already recorded payment for or marked as filed, it has an easy place to come back and see at any time you need to. Also here in our sales tax settings, if you needed to add a new tax agency, so we had added New York and California during setup in this account, but if my business is growing, I'm an online retailer, and I wanted to add another state, for example, we could just type in Illinois, for example. And again, we just have to answer those same 3 questions to get ourselves started. And then we'll now be able to calculate sales tax for any Illinois sales on any of our transactions. We can also edit these to make them inactive if needed. So if you're no longer doing business in California, you can go ahead and make that one inactive, take it off of your list there. And you can turn off sales tax altogether if it's really needed. And then from our report section here, we only have the tax liability report and taxable customer reports available. Those are our most commonly used reports here. Like I mentioned, we're looking into getting a non-taxable sales report out as well. So you can look forward to seeing that. Any other sales tax reports are still going to be available here in our reports tab. So you can easily look those up as well. So the rollout for this, hopefully, if anybody had questions about that, we get that one ahead of time. So this is currently available for all new U.S. customers or accounts that are being created in QuickBooks if they've not set up sales tax already. So if it's a desktop importer who you've brought in some sales tax, you'll still have that old experience for now. And so any brand new accounts with no sales tax setup will see this as they start setting up sales tax. As far as our existing customers, we're looking into bringing in single tax agency customers. Within the next few months, these will start being brought in by invitation only. We want to be very cautious around tax time, of course. We don't want to interrupt your normal workflows. So you may see a pop-up window saying, you know, we're changing taxes, we're making this simpler for you, and it'll allow you to select if you want to move into the new tax or stay with the existing one for the time being. So no, won't be pushed into this right away. Wesley, did we have any questions?
Oh, we always have questions. Thanks, Lauren. One thing I'd like to just mention, and so if everybody could go ahead and put whatever questions you may have, and Lauren's one of these people we give feedback to. So feedback, something wish list, what you'd like and don't like about taxes, this whole tool, go ahead and add that feedback. She's going to get this entire list of questions that you're putting in there. So take advantage of getting your feedback in there, your wish list, that kind of thing. A couple of things. You went through that really quick. I know, I apologize to the audience, but this part is being recorded, so that'll be available. One thing, though, that I know I had a question. If I have a store out, I'm just going to use Tucson for an example because Tucson is inside Pima County, but my store is not in Tucson, but I sell somebody to Tucson, and then we got Arizona, we got county taxes, we got city taxes. Is the system smart enough to know what the real tax situation is for me?
It sure is. So in most scenarios, you'll only have to set up the state tax agency, as I showed before, and based on your location and then the shipping location on the invoice, and I'll just pull up a quick invoice here. So the ship from location is just going to automatically be considered as your company location that you've set in your account and settings. And then the ship to location would be this one here. So based on those two locations, and then of course the tax category on the items you're selling, the QuickBooks system knows the tax law on the back end, and they'll apply the right taxes based on those two locations.
Okay, so in Tucson or even in Pima County here in Arizona, if I say Tucson, I mean, does it go by Tucson? Does it go by Arizona? Does it go by the zip code? Does it go by street address?
It does go down to the street address level.
So if I'm in one of these weird tax places where I have me and the dude across the street have the same zip code, but he has a different tax rate because he's on the wrong side of the street and I'm on the right side of the street, the system knows that.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so one thing I want to make sure everybody understands, there's a lot of automation here. So what happens going back, if you go back to the where you set up an inventory item and there's that category,
sure.
I wanted to ask a question about that. Okay,
Let's
because
go ahead
there's
and
a
just
drop.
Create a new item.
Yeah.
And then this area
The
here is
sales
where
tax,
we would set our tax category.
Right. So that tax category, what happens if I want to use a label that I don't see there?
So what we suggest is that you send in feedback through the product. So we're constantly working to improve this. We're actually going to see some updates to this in the next few days to include some categories that we've been missing. But in the meantime, you can always choose just retail, and we have like a general taxable retail item. So if you just want to look for that standard tax rate, you can even just mark it as is taxable and not include a category until the one that you've requested feedback for is then available. But if the specific one is not available, choose whatever's the closest to it if possible. Otherwise, you could choose just the general.
Okay, thanks. And one other thing I want to call out on that is the reason why we don't have every possibility of these hundreds of thousands is because it would take forever to load that list. So we have to balance functionality with the options to make sure that we get 99% of everybody working really quick. So
yep.
That's why I wanted to hit that.
When we first rolled this out, we did create like a condensed list. So we still won't have this list be, thousands of items long, but we will see some additions, like I mentioned, in the next couple of days to bring in some of those items that have already been requested.
And then on the next step on this, though, if they have some really weird situation that's not on our list, can we do a manual adjustment?
Absolutely. So on an invoice, you can always, or any transaction, I should say, can always override that tax amount by just inputting whatever amount you'd like here. So let me just quickly add an item here to show you how that works. You'll get so if we wanted to say this was 1110 instead of 1109, as soon as we click out of here, it'll give us a breakdown here of what QuickBooks recommended, the amount that we've entered, and then the difference. It also tells you if you're frequently having to do an update, this is what we're basing this on. So your company location, your customer's information, and the taxes on the items. So if you feel like you're not getting the tax rate that you've expected, you may need to update these. Otherwise, you can choose to not override or to keep your changes. And again, we're going to be improving this page as well. So on the blue sales tax link, we'll see a bunch of dynamic information that will include the different addresses and the particular items to help you get that set up as accurately as possible.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. We're going to kind of pull in on the questions here, but if you have questions, we got a lot of them coming in here, please keep them in there. And obviously, there's a lot of tax locations. Now, one final question. Is the system smart enough to know, let's say we had somebody's, as an example, there's 300 tax rates in one state. Does the system know all 300 of those tax rates for that state?
Yep. So, like any system, there, may find one that is not updated as quickly as the state updates it, but we do update very frequently. So if you see something, if the state changes one today and you don't see it updated today, maybe in the next day or so, but generally we're ahead of the game. We should see all of those rates and all of them updated as frequently as possible.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Lauren. So I want to reiterate the rollout here this is for new QBO clients, QuickBooks clients. We're not migrating anybody just yet. We're going to wait till we make sure we work out all the bugs, get more feedback, right, Lauren?
Correct.
And then we're going to do, when did you say we're going to start worrying about migrating? And it's going to be a couple of months down the road, right?
A couple months down the road, January, we'll start single tax agency existing customers. So if you are already a customer who only collects tax from one agency currently in QuickBooks, you'll start seeing the invitations to move over to the new system.
Okay, so obviously when we do a migration on something like this, that's going to be another whole level of the rollout. So we want to make sure everybody's comfortable, everything's working. So more to come. We will probably have Lauren or some of her counterparts back when we start the migration. That way we can maybe give it a little bit more time and get into the nitty-gritties a little bit more. But we want to make sure you're aware of this because you're going to start seeing this on all of your new QBO clients. So that's why we want to make sure we cover that here. So thanks for presenting today, Lauren. So our first topic that our presenter is going to cover is reports. We've taken some feedback. We want to make sure the reports are more effective, more dynamic for you. And then he's going to also cover QB Assistant later on. But for presenting these two topics today, we have James Rizzo. He's a product manager in Mountain View, California. And he wants to make the reports and insights more effective for you. Because we only know as much as the reports can tell us. So the more we get these reports working, the better insights you have in your business. And he's one of these guys we have on our team that's passionate about really tweaking our reports and our data to make sure you guys get the data you need to manage your business and your clients' business as well. So thanks for presenting today, James.
Of course, super excited to be here and super excited to demo a couple of things that we're working on in Reports and Insights for you guys. So the first thing that we're working on is a redesign of the Reports landing page. And so here from your dashboard, you can see how the Reports page looks today, and we're changing this. This is something that's currently launched to all users in Labs, and so for you, those of you who don't know what QuickBooks Labs is, it's essentially where we launch features before they become generally available to everybody in order to test and get feedback. So QuickBooks Labs is in the gear icon up here. Click QuickBooks Labs right there. And this new reports landing page is here. So click this to turn it on. And I'm also going to turn on the other thing I'm demoing today, which is QuickBooks Assistant down here, also available in Labs if you want to turn it on yourself and play with it. So I'm going to hit done. And now I'm going to go back to the reports landing page here. And as you can see, there's been some significant changes to the page that I showed earlier. So for one thing, we have all the reports on one page now, so you don't have to click through multiple menus and multiple groupings in order to find the report you need. Another big change that we've made is adding this favorites group up top here. So for reports that you run really frequently, for example, business snapshot here, you can hit this star, and then it shows up here in the favorites, and you can just run it straight from there. A few other minor changes. We've updated some of the grouping names. So before Who Owes You was called Manage Accounts Receivable. We found that a lot of customers who maybe weren't as familiar with accounting terminology got confused by that. So we changed some of these grouping names to be more closer to how non-accountant customers think about them. In the future, we're going to be rolling out this page for accountants, where we're going to keep some of the accounting terminology, but right now it's just going to look like this. One last thing to demo here is we've had this little question mark there. So for customers that may be unfamiliar with some of these reports or unfamiliar with the terminology, they can click this question mark and a short description pops up underneath explaining what the report's about. And the reason we did this is we found that a lot of QuickBooks Online users had trouble finding the reports they needed, just because in the old page there was, layers of menus and tabs in order to get to reports. And also that users didn't understand some of the jargon on the reports. So we've updated the grouping names, we've added these little description question marks, we've added favoriting up here, so the reports that people run most often can be right up top. And we're excited to launch this and continue improving upon it. If it looks cool, if it's something you like, go ahead and turn it on in Labs, use it for yourself, give us feedback, we read all of it. And yeah, hope you're really excited about that. The second feature that I'd like to demo is called QuickBooks Assistant. And QuickBooks Assistant is right up here. You saw me turn it on in Labs. You have to turn it on in Labs first before it shows up here. But you click this, and it's essentially your robot helper. So you can ask QuickBooks Assistant questions about your business, and it can answer them right there. And so the purpose of this is you don't even have to go into reports and run a report in order to find the insights you need. So for example, if you want to know, who your top customers are, you can say, who are my top customers? And QB Assistant can answer right there and show you who your top customers are. Or if you want to know, who owes me money? Again, QuickBooks Assistant can give you an answer. And so it can answer questions beyond this. There are a few examples up here. It's something that we're continuously learning on and improving upon. It might not be able to answer all of your questions right now, but we hope that in the future it gets close to all of them. And the more you use it, the more we learn. So I'd love it if this is something that looks interesting to you. Turn it on in Labs, start using it, send us feedback. Great. That is all I have to demo. I'd be happy to take your questions now.
Okay. Hey, thanks, James. I want to make sure everybody gets their questions in there. QuickBooks Assistant and the reports. One thing I want to highlight again, he brought up that these are in Labs. So anything in Labs is a beta. Even like the price rules, they're still beta. So they got some rough edges. That's why we haven't rolled them out into production. So this is a good time. We give us feedback, kick the tires, make sure they're round and they roll really smooth. Wait a minute, we need some better wheels, or whatever we need for features, some things that don't make sense. This is the opportunity to affect the final product. So give us your questions, give us your feedback, turn on the betas, go to Labs, test these things out. That way, when we do roll it out in the product, we can really give even a better product, because without your feedback, your testing, your questions, your answers, the speed bumps you run into, that's how we make a better product, instead of just rolling it out and finding out, oh, we didn't do everything just perfect, because we're still human too. So give us your feedback, test them out, and keep James really busy over the next month with all the feedback and questions you have for him. And so we're going to take a few questions here live. So if you turn on reports through the Labs, does it change just for me, the user, the account, the company? How does that report affect that when we turn on these features in Labs, and maybe address that whole bigger question, even whatever we turn on in Labs? Does that affect just that user, or does it affect the company? Does the accountant see that? Does the client see that? Who sees that?
It is I believe it is the user who sees it when you turn it on in Labs. So you as a user will see the features that you turn on.
Okay. I want to actually add to that. There's some of these turn things on in Labs. Some affect the entire company. Some may affect the user. And the beauty with Labs, you can always turn it off if you don't like it. Let somebody else be a beta tester, because I know the vast majority of you don't want to be beta testers, but there's a diehard 10% or so that love getting their hands dirty and messing with this stuff. So QB Assistant, could you let them show them again where that is?
Sure. So after you've turned it on in Labs, it will show up right here at the top right-hand corner of the screen. This little, these little chat bubbles here, and when you click on that, QB Assistant will open.
Okay, so then you could either click on that again or hit that X to close that out, because that's obviously covering up some real estate there we're normally going to want to work in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see here. Let's bring some more question in. So let's go back to the reports on the columns. We have something about how do you get the two columns on the reports. So if we go back to your reports there. Okay, so this, I think what he's talking about here is this is the new reports, right, where you have these two columns and then the each grouping.
Correct. So if you make the window smaller, the second column will disappear, and there will only be one column.
Yeah, in fact,
so let's see if I can demo that really quickly.
So your browser, yeah.
So there you go. You can see it. It went down to one column once I made the window smaller there, and then when I make the window bigger, it snaps to two columns.
But we don't miss anything. It just wraps it into one column instead of splitting it up.
Correct.
Okay, so could you show that gear where the labs button is again?
Sure.
Apparently a few people have missed that.
So there's this gear in the top right-hand corner. You click that, and then QuickBooks Labs is under your company right there. And you click that, and it brings you to the QuickBooks Labs page. And here you can turn things on and off. And so the easier to navigate reports is the new landing page that I just demoed. And at the bottom here, QuickBooks Assistant. And once you turn those on, they'll appear in your QuickBooks account.
And also, if you decide that you don't like the feature for whatever reason, you can turn these on and off at your discretion. So as you can see, we have a number of projects here in Labs. So those beta testers have lots of toys to play with. And also, he's showing us feedback there. And we have the feedback button. So everything in here, we really, really want feedback, because that way we can really roll out a really good product. So if you have any more questions, keep those coming in. I will be giving the whole list of questions to James here after the webinar, and then we'll get those loaded on our webinar page in about a week. I want to make sure that everybody's aware of Accountant University, the training. One thing I want to highlight in that is not only do we have training for accountants, we also have training for small businesses. So what we do there is we give your small business clients videos, training, so you can refer your clients to this page. That link will be in the next couple of slides coming up. That way you can use some of our resources to help train your new QBO clients, because I've taken a lot of those phone calls and I know what it takes to get some of those businesses so they don't make your lives more miserable. So, here's an example of, how do they just get their basics down so they can get in there and help you guys out, do what they need to do. This link is the correct link for that PayPal beta. And these links are in the handout, but you might want to make a note of that and that link for the PayPal beta. And these links will be on the web page when we get that uploaded. That'll probably be coming here pretty quick, because we can get the links up here even quicker than we can get all the questions up there in the recordings. And the webinar page, that way you can even register for next month before the invite comes out. And we got a couple of links here for the sales tax. So that's going to be a huge change for everybody. So we want to make sure you got the knowledge base articles that are going to be helpful for understanding and managing those sales tax clients. So we're going to give you about 8 or 9 minutes of your day back. We fulfilled the 1.5 CPE credits, so we made it under the 90 minutes. So thanks for attending today. Be sure to check out the Help Hub. These videos, recordings of these presentations are loaded on our YouTube channel, available through the Help Hub, Accountants Help Hub page, through our webinar page. And also, we do have an online feature request website. So if there's something that we don't have, you want it, I'll have that link in a follow-up email. So check your email box. Coming up in about an hour, you'll be getting an email with some of these links in it. All these links will be back in there, so you don't have to worry about trying to capture them all. So I want to thank everybody for attending today, and I'll let everybody go. And you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you December 21st for our next webinar. That's going to be another full webinar. We have a lot of stuff coming in December. We're going to get you up to the tax season's coming, so we have all that coming as well. So we're just going to have a busy schedule again in December. So look forward to seeing you all December 21st. So take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.